or myth, CPF funds controlled by government. For savings, no free access to it.
We could say it as a fact and a myth. Like fact in the sense that before 55, we can't just dip our hands into it. Myth in the sense that we can use it for investment purposes. We can also use it for housing and, of course, our healthcare needs.
Fact or myth, CPF savings confiscated if you leave Singapore.
Obviously, there's a myth. It's always there, even if I leave Singapore at 35, 45, so long as I turn 55 and I meet the required sums, I'll be able to access the money.
Fact or myth, you can only use CPF for housing.
Obviously a myth, because other than housing, we can also use it for the purpose of investment. We can also use it for our medical insurance and also use selected sums within the limits for our healthcare needs.
Fact or myth, I can pay for my home loan with CPF when I reach 55.
That's certainly a myth. We can continue to use our CPF ordinary account balances to service the home loan when I'm 55.
Fact or myth, property value can be used to make up retirement sum.
Yes, it is a fact. Now, so long as when you turn 55, your property can last you until you're 95 years old, you can actually opt for the basic retirement sum, which is half of the full retirement sum, and make up the balance with the underlying value of your property.
So the next part would be, let's get a little bit more risk, which is, we talk about putting the money in SA. Yes, like 4%, it's very stable. How about if we want to take a little bit more risk, what can we do with our CPF to make sure to maybe have higher returns rather than the 2.5% in OA? What are the instruments that we can use?
Okay, so under the CPF investment scheme, right, for our ordinary account, for example, the first 20,000, of course, is not investable. Right?
Okay.
So in general, we can invest the balances that we have, right, in excess of the 20,000. So of course, there is some differentiation, right? So if you are say buying stocks, right, listed on the Singapore Exchange, you can use up to 35%, right, of your balances, of your what we call the total balances in the ordinary account. If it is special account, if it is investing in funds like unit trust or we commonly call it ILP, investment linked policy, then you can use actually 100% of it.
Oh,
beyond,
we can use
in excess of 20,000.
So we can use our CPF to buy ILP as well.
Yes, right. So in essence, the main difference between unit trust and ILP, the key difference is actually an ILP gives what we call a guaranteed death benefit, right? While a unit trust doesn't offer that, but primarily they are similar. They are actually what we call a similar tool.
Okay.
Right. Then of course, in terms of the ordinary account, okay, you can actually invest in funds. They are rated as rated up to higher risk, risk classified up to higher risk, right? So because in the CPF risk classification, you have lower risk, which is like level 1, then low to medium, level 2, then medium to high, which is level 3, and of course, higher risk, which is level 4.
All right.
Right? So generally, higher risk refers to funds that is primarily invested in equities.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
While level 3, medium to high, will be like funds investing in multi-assets, bonds and equities, right? And of course, you have level 2, which is primarily in bonds.
I see.
Right, primarily in bonds. So for ordinary account, you can go to as much as higher risk for the fund that is CPF included.
I see.
Right, because not every fund is CPF included.
Yeah.
Then moving over to special account, you can only buy into CPF included funds, which is medium to high risk classified.
I see. Medium to high risk.
Yes.
Oh, there is also.
Up to medium to high risk.
Oh,
up to medium to high risk. So up to medium to high risk primarily to be invested in bonds and equities, or commonly also known as like managed funds.
I see.
Right. You can't buy stocks for the special account money.
Yeah. So personal opinion, would you invest your special account into, let's say, those funds, or you prefer to leave it for that 4%?
Okay. On a personal note,
yes.
I will be very selective if I were to invest my special account money in funds. Selective. When I say selective, meaning, say for example, maybe after a major sell-off in the market last year, right, where prices have fallen significantly, I might take a calculated risk to buy when markets are low. Right? Just like a very common quote, a very world famous quote by Warren Buffett, right? Be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. I might do that, but generally, if in normal times, I would tend to be more reserved about that. Primarily because of the fact that the cost of funds, right, is about 4%, which is the interest that we earn our special account,
Yeah.
and the funds that is included under the scheme, it's limited to up to medium to high. So which means to say that when a fund is up to medium to high, then we will have obviously the volatility tends to be lower, which means the historical average return tend to be lower, right? Which also means to say that the timing element, especially if we're doing a lump sum, will play a more significant part in terms of affecting the decision whether it is a more rewarding or less rewarding decision.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
So this is where we always find that all this information and knowledge is really important. And if they want to find out more about all this, because I think Felix have gone through quite a bit. Some of you will say, oh my God, it's so complicated. I need to think through my own financial situation. I need to think about reserves. I need to think about my daily and monthly expenses, plus think of my retirement and how to grow my money. All of these are too overwhelming. Now, if they find this overwhelming, what should they be doing?
What is important is, of course, it's always good to do research. Research on any tool that you want to be invested in, right? Look back the last 10 years, 15 years, or even longer, right? What is the, maybe in any given year, what is the biggest drop?
Yep.
What was the biggest gain? Although past is not a reflection of the future, but at least it gives what I call a reference to say that, hey, had I been onto something like that, in any given year, it could have risen and fallen that much. Is it something that kind of swings? Is it something I'm comfortable with, right? And of course, if the historical performance have shown decent evidence that, okay, it had been able to at least deliver a return higher than the cost of funds, right? Every decision we make today for the future, ultimately, the element of past experience does count, right? I mean, just like today, I decide to walk down the aisle with my other half, right? To a large extent, it's based on past performance, right? So it's always a question, okay, can a past performance be sustained, right? Then, of course, we gel it with a bit of outlook, right? So when you have a good mix of past and a good feel of future, we make the decision. Of course, again, sometimes the past performance is sustainable and repeated, right? But of course, unfortunately, in some cases, it doesn't, right? So I would, of course, also encourage diversify.
Definitely.
Right? Diversify,
so
never pick one fund, put the eggs in different baskets.
Yeah, I think if you want to do it yourself, then definitely there must be research being done and understanding about this thing called diversification. But if you do not know and right now feel that you are overwhelmed, I think the best thing is always seek experts' opinion, right? Go to your financial consultant, go to a CPF board, right? And they are always very helpful, right? And if you want to know how to contact Felix, okay, there is actually a link over there. You can always click on it if you need any financial advice. So Felix, I have friends who are in the 30s, 40s. They always have this concern because our retirement sum keeps going up. So will they be able to really retire with that retirement sum? Can catch up or not?
This is a very common concern, right? And what happens is that the reality is based on so many projections I've done for so many of my friends, clients. I would say that very few people would miss the full retirement sum. In fact, most people would actually meet or exceed the full retirement sum in their special account when they turn 55, right? For a few reasons. One is, of course, on the condition that we remain gainfully employed. What happens is that, for example, in terms of our contribution, right, and what I call the allocation rate, right, because out of our 37% of employer contribution, right, 23%, when we are under 35, 23% goes to the ordinary account, right, and the balance of 6 goes to the special and 8 goes to the Medisave account. So collectively, they add to 37. Now, progressively, as we age, as we move into our 30s and gradually into the 40s and past 50, right, the proportion that goes to the ordinary account will actually decline. They will decline. And what goes to and this drop, okay, will be this fall in reduction in allocation to the ordinary account will then be assigned to the special and Medisave. Once your special account starts to have additional inflow, what will happen is that then you'll find that compounding at 4%, naturally it will push the balances up faster. Then in addition to that, within our Medisave account, right, Medisave account, there is also this thing called basic healthcare sum. So which this year, at this point, is $68,500, right? So the basic healthcare sum is the maximum amount that we'll have in our Medisave, at least for this year, 2023, and it's raised every year, right, on the 1st of January. So once our balances hit the basic healthcare sum, all right, the future contribution, including interest, will flow to the
SA
special account. Right? So which means at some point in the later part of our lives, when we hit the when our Medisave hits the basic healthcare sum, you will actually enjoy flow over. Okay. In addition to increased allocation, and these two sources will actually help to power up our special account balances together with the 4% compounding. You actually see that this sum will climb quite impressively between the period from post 35 all the way to 55.
So I think
that makes a difference.
All these are taken into consideration and all the calculations have been done for us. It's all well engineered, right? So don't need to worry too much about it. I think most importantly is really just be gainfully employed, and make sure that we constantly and religiously contribute to our CPF. So thank you, Felix. Thank you for being with us and letting us know so much regarding our CPF. That's it for today's episode. If you found our content helpful, don't forget to show your support by hitting the like and subscribe button. Share your thoughts in the comment section below and let me know what else you want me to cover in future episodes. Remember, it's all about taking care of your body, mind, heart, and wallet for a happier and healthier you.